There have always been food obsessions. Some of them are cultural, some of them are economic, and some are weird and some are not.
What exactly is that?
It's the most impressive and unique flavor that the ocean gives us.
People don't realize how it actually makes its way to the table.
It's done the old-fashioned way by real people who are carrying on a legacy that is as old as human history.
Jason Wise, Jeff in Vegas, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, thank you. I have to tell you right up front, born and raised in Las Vegas, I am not a foodie. I was raised meat and potatoes. And just watching this documentary, I've never tried sea urchin. And my friends will tell you a great experience 20 years ago when I tried sushi for the first time. It was dramatic. But I know a lot of people love this delicacy. And so are you a foodie or a sushi lover? How did this documentary come about? I understand it was 7 years in the making.
Yeah, I think, yes, this question I am, it's an interesting one. No, I'm from the Midwest. So to call myself a foodie, I'd be kind of a background. Mine is very similar to yours. I would say that when I sort of accidentally got myself involved in the Som movies, which are these wine films, I would say that I was exposed to quite a bit. Before then, outside of bartending and working in restaurants, my experience with high-end food and high-end wine was not what it is now. But I think what drew me more to this project was the fact that I was a scuba diver. So I started my career as an underwater photographer, but you bet your butt I love this food. I love all of this stuff. And I guess the term foodie certainly would apply to me now.
And a sea urchin looks like the most inedible creature on the planet. So I can't imagine when and where this all started. It just looks dangerous.
Yeah, I think that's another reason I had to make this movie. You look at a sea urchin and that does not scream food. I mean, it is like probably, at least Western civilization, probably the farthest from anything else we eat. I mean, it's an echinoderm that pretty much is known for hurting you when you step on it. And yet somebody dove to the bottom or found one of these things, cracked it open, and of all the little goopy things inside, they found a piece that they thought tasted good. The whole process of it is so bizarre. I agree completely.
And tell me about the industry of harvesting sea urchins, the labor involved and the danger involved.
Yeah, so I think this, it's not like regular fishing. You think fishing, and I say sea urchin divers or sea urchin fishermen. And the truth is, they're not using nets. They're not using poles. They're not using lines. They are putting on wetsuits. They are jumping into often very, very, very dangerous areas to go down and collect these things off the bottom. And they're underwater for sometimes up to multiple hours. And it's the process is very bizarre because in a lot of places where the best sea urchins come from, there's the best kelp. Where there's the best kelp, there's the best currents, which means currents are dangerous, which means oftentimes there are other animals there like sharks and other things. And so it's quite a process to do this. Yeah.
And shark attacks. I mean, you have shark attacks are a real danger when harvesting sea urchins. And the risk is worth the reward though, right?
I don't know. I mean, that was part of the film. That's part of why we wanted to make it, is like, look at the very strange behavior humans have to do this. And yeah, there's good money in it, but there are other jobs you can make $500 to $1,000 a day doing. There really are. I promise. I'm sure there are. And I would say that putting on a wetsuit and jumping down where you have the potential of getting hit by a great white shark is, I don't know. I don't think it'd be people's first choice for that kind of money.
And you got diver Jim Marshall, 50 years. He had some great insight to this industry too.
Yeah. So Jim is an interesting guy. He's retiring now. So this film kind of came out at an amazing point. He was a guy who dove for abalone for, 2.5 decades. And abalone itself is an incredible story. People either they love it and they've heard of it, but from an environmental standpoint, it is one of the first times I think America, and especially California, said, my food is really impacting the environment, and the government had to step in and say, you can't eat this animal. And Jim was there at the beginning, the whole process. He is an old school salty dog fisherman type guy. And it's just great to have these personalities in the film.
And you had Stephanie Muntz, who has a master's in marine biology, and she even dies for part-time. So that tells you about the money that can be made from this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and her story, I think Stephanie is just she happens to be a woman, but is just one of the toughest people I've ever met, and also one of the sweetest. She was trying. She was not trying. She was a teacher. You know, she has a master's degree in biology. She was teaching biology in Santa Barbara, and yeah, they laid her off, like often happens to adjunct professors. And so while she was doing research underwater, she was working with fishermen and everything, and she just sort of slid into that, got a sea urchin diver license. And it's a kind of a thing where now everybody goes, wow, as a woman, how do you do this? And she goes, I didn't really think about the fact that I was a woman. I needed a job, and I just did the job. So it's kind of a funny thing how life works out that way.
And the other half of your documentary is, of course, eating these things. And you recruit different chefs for the experiences. And Andrew Zimmern, he says eating the reproductive organs of an urchin is like kissing a mermaid. What a description.
Yeah, you know, I've kissed a few mermaids, and I think he's probably right. I think what he means is that it has got this kind of like very sweet, very salty. It really does, and I don't know how this comes across because it tastes like the ocean. It's the weirdest. It's just the weirdest taste. It's so hard to describe.
I would say it's like kissing Daryl Hannah. That's my description. Then.
That's good. Hey, I'll take that. That's good. That's a good one.
And I was shocked to hear that abalone is nearly extinct, but this was even eaten in Roman times, so it's been around for a long time, but it's in danger.
Yeah, so the abalone story, it's kind of, there's a lot of controversy and a lot of politics involved with this whole thing, but it became extremely rare. But I think the other thing too is it was extremely common, way more common than it should have been. And obviously we get into that film with the fact that sea otters were wiped out in the 1800s. And so because of that, there were no predators for a lot of these things like abalone. So there were tons of them. So the real question is how many are there supposed to be? What's the natural balance? But you're not even allowed to recreationally fish for them anymore. They are completely and totally off limits.
And was there any special crews or dangers in you using underwater photography or shooting in the ocean?
Yeah, I would say that it's the same dangers that divers would have, except I don't have the experience. And my focus is trying to film something, so I'm not really aware of my surroundings. I'm looking through a lens. So yeah, this was an incredibly dangerous shoot. It was something that I walked in a little cocky. I filmed all over the world. I filmed with all sorts of animals underwater. I thought, hey, I'm fine. And I even had a pretty terrible scuba diving accident on this film. And so, one where just a lot of stuff goes wrong, get tangled in kelp. And, the truth of the matter is you're afraid of sharks, and really it's kelp and currents that are the serious danger. That's the real issue.
Delicacy premieres on Psalm TV. Am I getting that right? Dedicated to food, wine, and travel. And thanks for talking to me today. And I'm inspired. I will try sea urchin in some sort of shape or form. Maybe, I don't know. What's the best way to try it?
I would say, the best way to try it is if you can try it like right out of the ocean, still moving. But the second best way would be to go to a really good sushi restaurant and have them make you some kind of roll, have a good sake with it. Sake and sea urchin are just, it's one of the most tremendous pairings I can name.
Well, you've inspired me, Jason, and yes, my friends, they know I would never go near sea urchin, let alone anything like that, but I'll give it a try just for you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
And come visit us in Las Vegas when we're reopen, because we got the Raiders coming. I know you're a Browns fan, but we got the Raiders coming to Vegas now. Our stadium's finished.
I look forward to it. Anywhere that the Browns could potentially play closer than Cleveland, but I can come watch them, I am there. I promise you. Plus, Vegas is a great place.
Well, thanks so much for talking to me, and good luck with the documentary.
All right. Thank you so much.
It is very interesting, the sort of psychology around things that we place value on.
As humans, we like food, but we also like stories about food.